lovelies for joining us today. We're going to be cooking a pork loin here at Our Sweet Home Life for lunch. And so I have my meat here and I have my famous Dutch oven here. And like I told you before, this thing you can cook anything in and it is delicious. So we're going to start out getting it good and hot today. And we have some spices that we're going to be adding to it. Of course, I always start out with my olive oil. I have a little bit of that in there now, about a teaspoon, and just got my Dutch oven really greased well. And then I'm going to put some meat tenderizer on it right now. I'm just going to put that all over it because I want this to be really tender. Okay. And we got our oven set to preheat for 350. And we're going to put it in a 350 oven for about an hour and a half because ours is kind of small. But probably if you have an average size, about 2 hours. Okay, we're going to take that, hear that sizzle? We're going to take that and brown it. And we're going to be adding some spices on it. After this side browns a little bit. It's already starting to brown because I had my skillet hot before I put it in there. I'm going to turn it back on that side, and I'm going to add celery salt. And I have some of this chicken. I love this. It's really spicy and hot, so if you don't like spicy and hot, you may not want to use it. Or you can use this Creole seasoning if you don't have the chicken. But this chicken is really good. But it's really hot and spicy. So I know not everyone likes that. I'm going to cut this down just a little bit. Ooh, yeah, we're looking good on that side as well. And so then I'm going to add some of this seasoned salt. It adds a lot of flavor as well. So I'll put it on that side. And then I'm going to add, of course, garlic salt. It makes everything good. It's like the butter and the sugar that Granny used to say to make everything good. So, and then of course, we're adding our Worcestershire sauce. Just a cup. Okay. So that's what we have. Is just some spices added to it. You see that pretty brown already? And that side's pretty and brown as well and has our spices. So we're going to be putting our lid on. And we're going to be putting it in the oven. Like I said, ours is just a small one. That's kind of hot. I better get my pot holder over here. And put ours in here for about an hour and a half. But if you have a larger roast, you probably need to do it for about 2 hours. So we'll be checking back with you when this gets done. And I'm sure it's going to be nothing but good. Okay, to go with our pork roast, I'm going to make some baked beans. So I have a spoon of bacon grease in my skillet. And I'm just adding a little bit of this ham that we had in the freezer. Just kind of breaking it up a little bit. So whenever you have a ham, you can take the leftovers and kind of chop them up and use those when you cook for flavor. So we're kind of just going to brown that up along with a half of an onion. So just chop a half a large onion up. Mine was a large one, and I'm using half of that. And I'm just kind of going to brown this up a little bit. And I'm going to walk over here and get the ketchup and the mustard out of the refrigerator. If I fail to get those out while that's cooking up. And sometimes, if I have any barbecue sauce, I'll add a little bit of that, but I don't think I have any today. So I have baked beans, I have ketchup, and just a little bit of mustard, And I'm going to be putting a spoon of sugar. You can use brown sugar if you have it, or if you don't, you can just go ahead and use just regular sugar. So I'm just going to put a little bit of regular sugar in it after these onions brown up just a little bit. But that bacon grease and this ham and the onions browning up will add a lot of flavor to our baked beans. And also, you can use syrup instead of the sugar. So you can either use white sugar, brown sugar, or the syrup. Of course, the brown sugar or the syrup is going to give it more flavor than the white sugar. But I'm just using what I have. Okay, our onion is starting to brown. So it's about time to add our beans, so our baked beans. We'll add those. We did drain the excess juice off of it, because they had a lot of juice. So I poured those in. Have some ketchup. About a quarter of a cup of ketchup. And if you like, you can use barbecue sauce, because sometimes I do just add a little bit of barbecue sauce, but I don't have any today. And then just a little squeeze of mustard, not a lot, just one little squeeze like that.
Teaspoon?
A teaspoon. And you can kind of stir that up. And then a little bit of the Worcestershire sauce. About a teaspoon of that as well.
What size would you say the beans were you had used, Glenda? Give them a good...
They're a big can, 28 ounce or 1 pound
it's
can.
a big can.
A big can. And I did find some brown sugar. I didn't think I had any, and I was going to use the regular white sugar. But I have about a half a cup of white, but it's a little bit much. I'm just going to use a quarter of a cup of that, of the brown sugar. So a quarter cup. Mojo has decided he would like some cornbread sticks. So we have got the oil in the cornbread sticks, just some regular corn oil. Just greased them up a little bit. There's the pan. And then a little skillet instead of using our big cast iron. So we're going to put these in the oven to get hot while we mix up our cornbread mix. We got our pork in there and got our beans, and our beans are starting to bubble. Okay, so we'll get a bowl out and whip us up a little bit of cornbread here. So we're going to use, okay, I'm getting ready to stir up my cornbread. So I'm going to use 2 cups of this Martha White self-rising yellow cornmeal mix. So we're going to put this in, and the cornmeal mix, it has a little bit of flour in it, and baking powder and salt. So that's the difference. Okay, and then we're going to get us an egg. Okay, I got my egg, and I'm going to crack it, put it in. I have this buttermilk, and I don't usually measure buttermilk, I just look at the consistency, but I will try measuring it for you. So I'm going to start with a cup of this buttermilk and see how that works. Okay, so I've got my buttermilk in there, and that was 1 cup and 2 cups of cornmeal. Okay, you see that still looks dry. So we need a little bit more milk. So this time I'm going to add a half a cup. See how that goes. So that's 1.5 cups. I'm gonna stir that. Okay, that still looks just a little bit dry. So I'm just gonna put just a touch more buttermilk. Okay, that's getting more right. I'm gonna add just another touch, but you see the consistency. We want it thicker than pancake batter, but not real thick. So see how that's looking? So probably I had a cup and a half, probably a cup and 2/3 milk is probably what I've used so far. Okay, and that's about right. It's still kind of thick, but not real thick. So that's kind of the consistency you would want for your bread. So we're still waiting on our pans to get hot. So we will get the pans out here when they get hot. Okay, we're going to take our pans out of the oven. That grease should be good and hot. And our beans, they're looking about done too. Everything's smelling delicious. So we're going to take our bread mix that's been sitting there and kind of give it a little stir. And we're going to try to pour these in there, like so. And of course they're going to rise up as they're cooking. So you don't want to overfill them. So let me take a look at them and see if they're about right. I think they are. Okay, and then we'll just stir the bottom of that again and pour the rest of this in our little skillet. So we have a small skillet cornbread mix. And we have our cornbread sticks. Can't think of the word. Let's see if I can pick this up. It's hot, so you have to be really careful. Sometimes it's hard to grab it. There you go. And we're going to put these in our oven, the rest of our food. And these will probably have to cook a little bit longer than normal because we just have the oven on 350. It's not as high as what we normally cook them, but I believe they'll still be okay. So we'll check back with you when it's all done and let you see it. Okay, our beans got done. Look how beautiful they are. So I took those out, and when I took those out, I turned the oven up to 400 to finish cooking our cornbread, and I moved it up to the top so it could brown. The bottom browned while we were on the bottom. So they should be done. Look at that bottom. They look delicious. Okay, our cornbread was done. This is our little cornbread sticks and then our small pan of cornbread that we made. So we will put this over here and our baked beans we have. And let's look over here at our roast. If I can get it out. This cooker is kind of heavy. Let's see what it looks like. Ooh, yeah. Take that lid off where it's not quite so heavy. We'll check on that. It's looking good, that's for sure. Okay. Let's see how that looks. Let me get me a knife.
Dinner's looking good.
It's looking real good. It's been in there about an hour and a half. It's done.
Juicy. Ready to go.